Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Kiran Kumari. I'm working as a physiotherapist in Sadar Hospital, Ara, and I'm associated with Global Association of Physiotherapy as a secretary, Bihar Women's Wing. Topic for today's webinar is carpal tunnel syndrome. Now let's start with the session. So, carpal tunnel syndrome can hinder your ability to perform in your work and personal life. Understanding how this condition affects the wrist is important for prevention and decreasing progression. 50% of CTS cases are caused by work and could be prevented according to the study supported by Center for Disease Control. So we will start with the anatomy. The word carpus is derived from a Greek word karpos, which means wrist. The wrist is surrounded by a band of fibrous tissue which normally functions as a support for the joint. The tight space between this fibrous band and the wrist bone is called the carpal tunnel. The median nerve passes through the carpal tunnel to receive sensations from the thumb, index, and middle fingers of the hand. So in this figure, you will see this yellow structure is the median nerve, and this is transverse carpal ligament. And here you will see cross-sectional diagram. In cross-sectional diagram, this yellow structure is median nerve. These are tendons. These are carpal bones, and this is the transverse carpal ligament. So the median nerve is passing through this tunnel, which is known as carpal tunnel. And when this is compressed, it causes carpal tunnel syndrome. So carpal tunnel syndrome is also called median nerve compression. It is most common focal peripheral neuropathy, results from compression of the median nerve at the wrist. Epidemiology. Carpal tunnel syndrome is common disorder. Estimated prevalence in general population is 1 to 5%. Usually occurs between ages 36 and 60 years and is more frequent in females, with female to male ratio of 3:1. So females are more prone to have carpal tunnel syndrome. Risk factors of carpal tunnel syndrome includes obesity, female sex, coexisting conditions, example diabetes, pregnancy, rheumatoid arthritis, hypothyroidism, connective tissue disease, pre-existing median mononeuropathy, genetic predispositions. The role of repetitive hand or wrist use and workplace factors in development of CTS is controversial. So median nerve motor innervation. So in the above picture, this pink colored structure shows the motor innervation of median nerve. This green structure shows the ulnar nerve motor innervation, and this blue structure shows the radial nerve motor innervation. So here we are studying about the median nerve motor innervation. So this pink structure shows the motor innervation of median nerve. First and second lambricals, muscles of thinner eminence, opponens pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis. Now sensory innervation. In second figure, this blue colored structure shows the sensory innervation of median nerve. So areas of hand supplied by median nerve. Skin of the palmar side of the thumb, index and middle finger, and half the ring finger and nail bed of these fingers. So this is the sensory innervation of median nerve. Now we come to sign and symptoms. So in signs and symptoms, you will see tingling, numbness or discomfort in lateral 3.5 fingers, intermittent pain in the distribution of median nerve. Symptoms gets aggravated at night. To relieve the symptoms, patients often flicks the wrist as if shaking down a thermometer. So if the patient is having severe pain or symptom is aggravated, then to relieve it, patient flicks the wrist as if shaking down a thermometer. So what are the motor changes which we will see or which are found in carpal tunnel syndrome? Ape-like thumb deformity, loss of opposition of thumb, index and middle finger lag behind, index and middle finger lag behind when making the fist. Sensory changes, loss of sensation in lateral 3.5 digits, including the nail bed and distal phalanges on dorsum of hand. So in sensory changes, there will be loss of sensation in lateral 3.5 digits and the nail beds of the distal phalanges of these fingers. So an important point to remember for carpal tunnel syndrome is that there is no sensory loss over the thinner eminence in carpal tunnel syndrome because the branch of median nerve that innervates it, that is palmar cutaneous branch, passes superficial to carpal tunnel and not through it. So it is not compressed between the tunnel, and so the innervation of or the sensation of thinner eminence is intact. Sensory loss is not present. So these are the figures which shows the deformity, that is finger lag when making a fist. And in second figure, there is ape thumb deformity. Here you will also find the thinner wasting, thinner muscles wasting. You can see here the wasting of muscles. So there is thinner wasting present. Vasometer changes. In vasometer changes, skin area with sensory loss is warmer and dry skin. Trophic changes, long-standing cases leads to dry and scaly skin, nail crack easily, atrophy of pulp of the fingers. Now we come to diagnosis. In diagnosis, first we will take the history, then physical examination. In physical examination, we will see less sensitivity to pain, where the median nerve runs to the finger, thumb weakness, inability to tell the difference between 1 and 2 sharp points on the fingertips, flick signal. The patient is asked, what do you do when your symptoms are worse? If the patient responds with a motion that resembles shaking a thermometer, the doctor can strongly suspect carpal tunnel syndrome. So motion like shaking a thermometer will relieve the symptom. So when the patient is asked that what you do when your symptoms get aggravated or when your symptoms are worse, then the patient respond with the motion which resembles shaking of a thermometer. So by this you can suspect that the patient is having carpal tunnel syndrome. So there are some special tests which are done to diagnose carpal tunnel syndrome. So Fallon's test, the patient rests the elbow on the table, the wrist flexion with fingers pointing down and the back of the hands pressed together. So in this diagram, you can see the wrist, both the wrists are in flexion, fingers facing downward and pointing downward, and both the wrists are, both the hands are pressed together. So if the symptoms develop within a minute, then carpal tunnel syndrome is indicated. Tunnel signs test. In Tinel's sign test, the doctor tap over the median nerve to produce a tingling or mild shock sensation. So when we tap over the median nerve, there will be tingling or mild shock sensation. Hand elevation test. The patient raises his or her hand overhead for 2 minutes to produce symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome. So if the patient raises his hand and for 2 minutes, and after 2 minutes, if the symptoms is present, then it is said that patient is having carpal tunnel syndrome. So overhead raising of hand for 2 minutes will produce symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome. Dukan's test. The doctor press over the carpal tunnel for 30 seconds to produce tingling or shock in the median nerve. So here these are the tests which we were doing and which we have discussed before. Fallon test, Tinel test, hand elevation test, Flick sign, and square wrist sign. The ratio of the anterior posterior dimension of the wrist to the mediolateral dimension is greater than 0.7. There are some other diagnostic tests, electrodiagnostic test, in which we do nerve conduction study. So to perform nerve conduction studies, surface electrodes are first fastened to the hand and wrist. Small electric shock are then applied to the nerves in the fingers, wrist, and forearm to measure how fast a signal travels through the nerve that control movement and sensation. So in this figure, you see how nerve conduction velocity test is done. This is how we will fasten the electrodes over the wrist and the palm, and nerve conduction velocity test is done. Electromyography. To perform electromyography, a thin sterile wire electrode is inserted briefly into a muscle and the electrical activity is displayed on a viewing screen. Electromyography can be painful and is less accurate than nerve conduction. Now we come to management. The goal of the treatment for carpal tunnel syndrome is to reduce the swelling and pressure on the median nerve. Wrist brace, avoid inadequate posture and repetitive wrist movement. Repetitive wrist movement and workplace factors may also cause carpal tunnel syndrome. So essential tips to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome at work. So 18% of workers who develop carpal tunnel syndrome leave their job in 18 months. So workplace also affects. So there are some tips which we can use to decrease the symptoms and to work so that it does not affect our work. So there are some ergonomic mouse pad available in market, which we can use to reduce wrist fatigue and pain, because repetitive movement on mouse can cause carpal tunnel syndrome. So people who are working in office for a long time on computer can use some mouse pads, different mouse pads available, which can help them to reduce wrist fatigue and pain. So how to prevent carpal tunnel in the office? 2/3 office workers have experienced pain in the last 6 months due to incorrect posture and office ergonomics. So these are some tips which we can use, which can help us to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome as well as other pain. So take a break every 25 minutes from your computer. Keep your shoulder and back relaxed. Do not slouch. Sitting with your computer screen at eye level and your knees slightly lower than your hip joints. If you use a keyboard, keep it at elbow height or slightly lower. So these tips will help to avoid carpal tunnel syndrome. Now, non-surgical treatment. In non-surgical treatment, we usually give analgesic like NSAIDs to prevent pain or to relieve pain. Corticosteroids are given. Orally administered diuretics can decrease swelling. Local cortisone injection. Corticosteroids and lidocaine can be injected directly into the wrist to relieve the pressure. Splinting is generally recommended after local corticosteroids injection. If the first injection is successful, a repeat injection can be considered after a few months. Surgery should be considered if a patient needs more than 2 injections. Now, surgical treatment. So there are two types of surgical treatment in which carpal tunnel release surgery. There are two types of carpal tunnel release surgery. Generally, it is recommended if symptoms last for 6 months. So open release surgery and endoscopic surgery. Here in the diagram, you can see the figure, how open release surgery is done. Transverse carpal ligament is released here. And this is the endoscopic surgery. Now, rehabilitation after surgery. So after surgery, what rehabilitation we have to do? Gentle massage for the scar tissue, desensitize the incision. Modalities to decrease pain, inflammation and swelling, heat or cold, etc. Progressively exercises to strengthen and stabilize the muscle and joints in the hand. Exercises to improve fine motor control and dexterity or skills. Now we come to physiotherapy management. With early stages, CTS. In early stage of carpal tunnel syndrome, conservative care is recommended as a first step. So physiotherapy treatment can be effective to reduce your symptoms and help you get back to your everyday activities. Depending on the cause of your CTS, your physiotherapy program may include patient education. So your physiotherapist will teach you ways to improve your condition and keep it from getting worse. So we have to educate patient about different ergonomics, which will be helpful for them to prevent carpal tunnel syndrome. So this may include education on the importance of changing the wrist position, such as avoiding bent wrist position for long period, proper neck and upper back posture, avoiding forward head posture or slouching, stretch breaks during your work or daily routine. So these all topics or these all points we have discussed earlier in the office ergonomics. Now stretching exercises. So in stretching exercises, in the figure you can see like this, we have to do the stretching exercises. So in the first figure, wrist is bent upward. And the second figure, wrist is bent downward. So when wrist is so we will see the first figure, wrist bent upward position, keep the elbow straight and palm facing down. Instruction, what instruction we will give to the patient, that bend your wrist up, use the opposite hand to press the stretching hand back towards the body, that is extension, wrist extension, and hold for 15 to 30 seconds, and the pressure should be gentle, the stretching should be gentle. We have to do 10 repetitions, 3 sets. So in second figure, wrist is bent downward. So position will be keep the elbow straight and palm facing down. And what instruction we will give to the patient, that bend wrist down, use the opposite hand to press the stretching hand back towards the body. That is wrist flexion. we have to do, and the stretching should be gentle and hold for 15 to 30 seconds, and again 3 repetitions, 10 repetitions and 3 sets. We have to do three sets for 10 repetitions. Strengthening exercise. So forearm muscles should be strengthened, because forearm muscles, action of forearm muscle is strength, extension and flexion of the wrist. So there should be strengthening of forearm muscles. Position of the patient should be, position of the elbow or hand should be, support the elbow and place affected palm on the table. Place other hand across the affected knuckle at 90 degree and push down. So we have to give resistance with the other hand downward, and we have to instruct the patient or ask the patient to push affected hand upward and hold for 5 seconds, and the pressure should be, or the resistance should be gentle. 10 repetitions, 3 sets. Now hand muscles. Hand muscles should also be strengthened. So position, support the elbow and held fingers out straight. And what instruction we have to give? That squeeze a rubber ball, hold 5 seconds, and then release. So like this, we have to do 10 repetitions, 3 sets, and gentle. Pressure should be gentle. Mobility exercise. In mobility exercise, basically we have to do flexion and extension. So wrist bend forward and back, means flexion and extension. So position will be support the elbow, arm pointing up and wrist straight. So what should be the instruction which we will give to the patient? That bend wrist forward, hold 5 seconds, then straighten wrist, and then bend backward and again hold for 5 seconds. And movement should be gentle. Do gently, 10 repetitions, 3 sets. So these are the exercises which we have seen. Active range of motion, in which flexion, extension, radial and ulnar deviation. Wrist stretch, that is stretching exercises, which we have seen in the earlier slides. Then tendon glides. Tendon glides, I will show you one video. Wrist flexion exercise and wrist extension exercise, which we will have to hold one weight in our hand and do wrist flexion and extension for strengthening of the forearm muscles. And grip strengthening, we have to squeeze a rubber ball. So now we will see a video of tendon glide. So in this video, we have seen, so in this tendon glide, we have seen duck, duck, how to make, how to glide our tendons by making duck with the hand, and hook faced, flat faced, full faced. So these were the tendon glide exercises which we can teach to our patient. Now, cold and heat treatment. Your physiotherapist may use cold or heat treatment or recommend you to use ice or heat to relieve pain. Physiotherapy modalities like TENS and ultrasound have little useful effect on hand sensory discomfort. So physiotherapy modalities like TENS, ultrasound, hot pack, cold pack, these are used to relieve the symptoms. And splinting. Your physiotherapist may recommend that you use a splint at night to reduce discomfort. So splint is used to reduce the symptoms. So patient is advised to use splint at night so that symptoms do not get aggravated and symptoms is reduced. Thank you. Now, anyone having any queries or question can ask.